Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. How exciting is this semi-final? Stefanos Tsitsipas versus Daniil Medvedev, the Australian Open semi-final is going to be the second one played, so it will be the late game or the evening game tomorrow. Cannot wait for this. The head-to-head 6-2 to Medvedev, but there's some very interesting facts to be discussed. And yes, I think Medvedev goes into it the favorite, given that he has had success on the hard courts, more success than Stefanos Tsitsipas, given that he won the US Open last year. And he's been seen as the next big thing on the hard courts alongside Novak Djokovic currently as best hard court player. And now a lot of people are saying, well, he's going to be the next best hard court player, if not already now. For Stefanos Tsitsipas, there was a lot of question marks coming into this tournament around his elbow and also some improvements that I think people thought he needed to make. He's a fantastic clay court player, and he's also not a bad hardcourt player. He's a very, very good hardcourt player as well. But a lot of people thought his game may be more suited to the clay. This has been a very interesting tournament for both. We're going to go into it. We're going to talk, of course, about the routes to the semi-final. I'm going to talk about how I think each player's gone about their business, some similarities between this match and also last year's, considering that they met at the same stage last year at the Australian Open 2021 semi-final, and Medvedev won that one in straight sets. They also did play each other one more time in 2021. That was in the quarterfinals at Roland Garros, and Tsitsipas won in straight sets. So clearly a little flip there, and the surfaces and conditions playing a big part as well. They haven't played since, so this is their first meeting this year, and obviously only playing twice last year in two very big tournaments, in two major rounds. We're going to talk about, as I said, routes to semi-finals, also then how their styles match up, what I think we can expect, how I see them playing, and then, of course, give my ultimate prediction as well, which everyone, of course, is looking out for. First of all, thank you all for tuning in as well. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Really does help us out, especially if you're new to the channel. We're growing, and we are releasing regular content every single day at the moment, and hopefully that will continue. After the Australian Open, we will still be doing regular content, just probably not every single day. Whilst we get into this as well, I've got some interesting stats for Tsitsipas. We're going to go through those from Emphasis, so I will have a look at that as well. Let's go through then their path first. So for Tsitsipas, he got through Aryna in straight sets, Bayes in 4, Pair in 4. Fritz was the harder one. That was a really, really tough match for him. Fritz 2 sets to love up, 2 sets to 1 up even in that, and just not able to get the job done in the 5th set. Tsitsipas coming up clutch in some important moments, and the pressure points he plays and has been playing extremely well. Against Sinner, he got early breaks in each of the sets and managed to blitz Sinner away after a lot of people doubted him and thought that Sinner would win in that tie. He proved that, you know what, he is a very, very, very underrated hardcourt player, I think, and he showed some fantastic improvements in his game, which we'll touch upon more technically in a second. For Medvedev, he had a very straightforward route for the most part until that Felix match the other day, which of course was a cracker. Laxinen beating straight sets, Kyrgios in 4, had his moments in there where it was a bit tricky, but managed to maneuver and navigate his way through that very nicely. Van der Schlupp beat him in straight sets, Cressy in 4, and then Felix, he actually saved match points in the 4th set there, or a match point even, in the 4th set. Felix was serving for the match, if I'm not mistaken, in the 3rd set, got broken, obviously had the chance to take the tiebreaker and then win straight sets, still Felix. Medvedev won the tiebreaker, they closed the roof, and that was clearly an advantage, of course, but the biggest thing was his resilience to come back from that position and then win very convincingly in the end. Was it convincing, actually? No, that's the wrong word. To win in a very gritty fashion, I think is the right way of putting it. I think as soon as he won that 3rd set, I did say on the stream that I thought he was going to go on and win, but then he did have to save a match point in the 4th set, so Felix still had chances. Felix was there and thereabouts, even after the first 2 sets, which he won. He was still there. He had break points, actually, in the game that Medvedev was serving for the match. He had break points to go back on serve. He had 2 break points. Medvedev saved both of them. There were a couple of mistakes in there as well. And then Felix made a mistake on the match point to Medvedev, which Medvedev obviously then took and ended up winning in 5. Could have gone either way. It really could have. It was one of those matches. And in the end, Medvedev just taking the extremely crucial points, managing to capture those over Felix. Pressure points, if we were to look at the stats, I'm assuming they will be very, very close. Right, let's go into then the styles, the matchups. As I said, it's 6-2. So, and there's a pattern, I think, on the clay. Clearly, Tsitsipas has the advantage. On the hard courts, on paper, Medvedev has the advantage as well. But I think we need to cater in a couple of factors. So last year, if we cast back to last year, Stefanos Tsitsipas had just played a monster 5-setter against Rafael Nadal. He was 2 sets to love down in it. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Parallels, of course. Yep. You can see where I'm going here. So he lost the first 2 sets, managed to come back and win in 5. Medvedev has done exactly the same against Felix. He was 2 sets to love down. He came back and won a marathon match against Felix. On the other hand, Medvedev, right, last year in the quarterfinals, I'm pretty sure he did not have a massive, long, drawn-out match in the quarterfinals. And that, I think, to me, and you look at that and say, well, that you can draw comparisons because, yeah, he beat Rublev 7-5, 6-3, 6-2 in the quarterfinals there last year. Tsitsipas has beaten Sinner in straight sets. So there's your similarity. Last year, it was Tsitsipas who had the massive marathon match, and then Medvedev had the match which he cruised through. This year, it's the opposite. Tsitsipas has cruised through Sinner, and Medvedev has had to win in 5 very, very, very tight sets as well. Now, in saying that, yes, Tsitsipas has had that 5 sets against Fritz, but he would now have had a lot of time to recover. He's had that 3-setter. He actually played the earlier match as well, so he's had longer time to recover. And Medvedev has just had that ridiculously long match against Felix. Will that affect? Will that affect? Will that affect Medvedev? Will it? I don't know. Medvedev is super fit. He really is, and I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing how Medvedev holds up, for sure. Right, so if we look at it from a tactical point of view, then Medvedev definitely has the edge if you look at it from a tactical point of view. And the reason why is because the courts are very quick. He likes hitting the ball low over the net and it kicks off. We know he doesn't hit with huge topspin. He does have the variation on the forehand side, but when Medvedev's at his best, the reason why he's such a good hardcourt player because he serves like a demon. He hits his corners, aces, left, right, and center, returns everything back. He's a wall in the rallies. He breaks it down, and he's actually now able to hit more winners and more aggressively and have different levels to his game now as well. So he's started to become a really complete player on the hardcourt surface. You don't really see him come to the net. That's the one thing that people might be able to exploit, and that's why we see some people trying to use drop shots, underarm serves, etc., etc., etc. For Stefanos Tsitsipas, his serve has been firing fantastically. I want to give you some stats actually for him. So at the Australian Open in 2022, he's hit 62 aces, which is really good. Fastest serve of 219 kilometers per hour. Returns in. Now, this is the most important stat because there's been a huge amount of criticism, including for myself, levied around Tsitsipas and his returning ability and the fact that he needs to improve on that. And, you know, a lot of people said, look, it has improved a little bit in this tournament. At the start, people saying, anyway, at the start of the tournament, they'll say, yeah, it has improved a little bit, but he hasn't really had time to work on it as much because he was having rehab on his elbow, which is understandable. However, his returning has been substantially better as the tournament has gone on. He's made 73% of his returns. Now, that to me is a massive marked improvement on what we were seeing last year. I don't have the exact stat of last year of all the type of numbers that he was bringing out. But I know for a fact it was not 73%. It might have been in one tournament, but if we take the 2021 as a whole, no way Jose was he returning 73% of returns in. So he wasn't returning 73% of the serves into play. No way. Net points won 124 and time on court 13 hours and 43. Now, that is a very, very interesting set of stats. And the biggest one for me, of course, is the returns. 100% is the returns. It's incredible to see. Genuinely, really, really, really important. And I think it's going to have a huge impact in this match because if he's able to return well, or well enough anyway, and Medvedev had issues with the serve in the first two sets, then Tsitsipas has a real chance in this match, especially because he's been serving extremely well, especially down the tee. He might want to utilize a slice serve out wide because we know that Felix utilized that really effectively against Medvedev. Medvedev was standing really far back and then, of course, coming to the net, which Tsitsipas loves to do, and he's better at the net than Felix. That is a fantastic tactic to employ, and he should be. He doesn't want to get into war from the back of the court. He's able to dictate from the back of the court with his forehand. He's shown that recently. The backhand is firing, which is a huge positive for Stefanos Tsitsipas. For Medvedev, the backhand was and is always solid. The forehand was struggling a lot in the first couple of sets against Felix, but then he managed to come into his own with it and start hitting winners, especially even down the line, which I think is the hardest shot for him. I think the forehand down the line, but he can sometimes whip it, and he's such a good passer as well. If you come to the net, he'll be able to pass you from really weird angles. So Tsitsipas has to make sure when he comes to the net that he really does put it away. The serve return dynamic is going to be very interesting. Ordinarily, I would say that Medvedev has the huge edge in that because he's probably just as good a server as Tsitsipas, if not slightly better on the first serve. And then when it comes to return positions, I think that Medvedev is actually ordinarily the better returner as well. So I think generally Medvedev comes out on top right in the serve return dynamic. But in this instance, in this tournament, I think that Tsitsipas' returning has actually improved a huge amount. And I think going into this match, considering how Medvedev served in the previous round, is going to be extremely interesting. So if we take then the serve return dynamics, I just feel that Tsitsipas has closed the gap coming into this semi-final personally. Let's see how Medvedev serves. I think it's going to be very interesting to see. He struggled a lot with the first serve. He wasn't really firing. It reminded me of when he played Zverev in the ATP finals last year in that final, and he really struggled. That could have just been fatigue. However, he had a similar thing in the first two sets against Felix, struggling to hit through the court. It was humid and hot, and he just was struggling, really. The balls seemed a bit heavier maybe to him, and it wasn't bouncing as low. It was bouncing higher, which is probably a disadvantage when you play against someone like Felix or Tsitsipas. If the roof is closed, it's a huge advantage to Medvedev, I feel, because the ball definitely bounces lower, it's cooler, and Medvedev, of course, we know doesn't hit with huge topspin. Stefanos Tsitsipas hits with big topspin, and he enjoys the bouncier conditions. He doesn't mind the ball coming high onto his backhand and hitting through the ball. That's why, for example, when he plays Nadal, it's never an easy match for Nadal because he whips the forehand cross court, and Tsitsipas doesn't mind the ball coming at shoulder length on his backhand. He'll drive through it. For Tsitsipas, it's going to be, can he utilize a slice as well on the backhand side? Because I don't know how often he's going to want to hit the drive backhand. If Medvedev's going to hit so low over the net to that side, it's going to be quite difficult for him to get into the rallies like that. So I wonder how often he'll use a slice, how effective it will be as well. That's something that he's needed to improve upon. Let's see, because he hasn't utilized it a huge amount in this tournament. When he has, it's looked a bit better. Let's see if he can now utilize it against Medvedev, who really is going to be the key and the test for Tsitsipas. And I think the slice is a good tactic to employ against Medvedev. It always has been. He's definitely adapted to it better. He runs around it onto the forehand in response to a slice, and that can then put him in a good position. But if you really slice correctly into that backhand corner in a way that it forces Medvedev to hit a backhand, he can struggle or try and hit a slice himself. And his slice is not incredible, to be honest with you. It seems like I'm going around in circles here because I'm very hesitant and indecisive, really, about how I see this match going. There's so many different ways it could go, so many different variables in play. Medvedev has shown a fantastic resilience. I feel like if Tsitsipas is going to get through this, which to be fair, we saw the same with him against Fritz, it's going to be a real battle of the wills, and I can see this going to 5 sets. I don't see this being a blowout for Medvedev. I don't see it being 4 sets even. I don't even see Tsitsipas winning in straight sets or 4 sets. Yes, he's going to be the fresher of the two coming into this. I drew the parallels with the previous year. And yes, Medvedev has the advantage on hard courts, no doubt, when the matchup presents himself. But I think given the conditions and circumstances surrounding this tournament, the form that both are coming into, I genuinely feel like this is a 50-50. I don't feel like this is something, a match where one has a decided edge. For me, Tsitsipas, the backhand, he was hitting so cleanly against Sinner. It was something that was a pleasure to behold, genuinely. The one-hander in full flow. When he's playing like that, when he's striking the backhand like that, you know he's in good form. And I feel like he was playing around 70% throughout the Australian Open until that last match against Sinner, where he notched it up to about 85. For Medvedev, he's normally Mr. Consistent. He's the favorite for the tournament. He was the favorite for the tournament. But I feel like in this specific match, in this semi-final, I think he probably will be the betting favorite or whatever. But in my eyes, I feel like it is 50-50. I feel like it is 50-50. And for me, it is such an interesting match to watch. And I think it will be an incredible match. I'm hoping that both come into it near their top level, especially Tsitsipas as well. If he can bring that same level against Sinner, if not even better, who knows? And Medvedev shows what he's about on the hard courts is going to be a fantastic test. I feel like this could be the match where Tsitsipas shows Medvedev that yes, okay, you're very good on hard courts. And yes, I'm good on clay, but you know what? I can actually keep up with you on the hard courts now. I'm good enough to. I've made semi-finals at hard court slams, right? I am more than capable of being able to beat you on hard courts. Whether he does or not remains to be seen. And it seems like I'm sitting on the fence. So you know what? I'm going to go 5 sets, and I'm going to go with Medvedev. But I'm not very confident that he's going to do it, to be honest with you. As I said, I genuinely feel like it's 50-50. But if someone had to push me, I'd say Medvedev in 5. I think he's going to be wanting to go to the backhand side of Tsitsipas a lot. And I think Tsitsipas will try and run around. He has one of the best into-out and into-in forehands in the game. His movement to that side is fantastic. His recovery on the forehand side defensively is fantastic. He moves really well around the court for me. Medvedev as well is a fantastic mover on hard courts. And it's going to be a very intriguing battle. It's going to be who has the better tactics coming into it and who has a better mentality. And then we'll see how it all pans out. Interesting as well to see where Medvedev stands for the Tsitsipas return. I'm assuming he'll stand very far back as he always does, especially on the second serve. Can Tsitsipas utilize the angles well on the serve to make Medvedev uncomfortable in return? And then is he able to read the Medvedev serve, which is very hard to do, especially when Medvedev serving as quickly as he is in between points, that is. Right, that's my prediction. I'm going to stick to it. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Really looking forward to this. We're going to be doing a watch along for it, of course, and live commentary. So do get involved and tune in for that. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.